If your Landrover Discovery 3 or LR3 key looks like this, I'm going to show you how to fix it for cheap. Welcome to Project Addiction. Today we got a little bit of Landrover stuff going on, and when I say little, I mean real little. It's a key fob. Really common problem if you've got an LR3 or a Discovery 3. You already know your key probably looks like this. Got a big gaping hole in the front where the button used to be. Now, if you went down to Landrover, you probably already found out that it costs a fortune to replace that key. They won't give you a case, you've got to buy a whole key. It's got to be a better solution, right? And there is. You can hop onto Amazon or eBay, and you can get one of these offshore reproduction key cases. Now they're about 10 to 15 bucks depending on where you go, and it's a pretty decent reproduction, except for one thing. If you've already tried, you know that when you take the key out of your original key fob and you try put it in to the aftermarket case, it doesn't fit. So there's a couple of things that you can do. The blade itself is held in with a tiny little roll pin here. You can push that roll pin out, the new one, push it out of the old one, swap the blade over into the holder and push that roll pin back in, or you can modify the case. Now ideally, the best solution would be to push out that roll pin. The problem is, the pin is so small, most people don't have something small enough to actually get in there and push that roll pin out. So that solution is pretty much in the garbage right off the bat. I don't even have something small enough to do it. I modify the case. The issue here is the inner diameter is a different size than what's on the new case. The outer diameter of the mount is larger than the OEM, meaning when you try put this into the case, it simply won't slip over the outer diameter of that mount, and it causes the whole key to bind. If you did successfully manage to put the whole thing together, you probably found that the key wouldn't pop up. So what we need to do, and I've already done it on this one, but I'll show you how, is we need to cut down the outer diameter of this little mounting point. There's a couple of ways that you can do it. Ideally, use a rotary tool, which I'll show you how in the second part here, or if you don't have a rotary tool, you can use a knife. Now the knife is a little bit more difficult, it's not as neat, and there's a risk that you put that blade through your finger, so if you have a rotary tool, use a rotary tool, but if all you have is a knife, you can still do the modifications. So stay tuned, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to assume that you've already got your keys apart. Like I said, it's very simple. Pry the thing apart, it'll open up. The new one is even easier. It'll just unclip and come apart. You might have a screw in here, kind of depends on which one you buy. If you do, make sure you take that screw out. And what you're gonna be left with is the blank from your new key and your original key. Now we're gonna use this entire piece from the original key. The problem with these aftermarket key fobs is the diameter of this here and the diameter of the original is different. So this is actually too small to fit over this. So if you go to put it together, you get it all assembled and you push the button to try and flip it open, you'll find that you'll push the button and this key will not move. You'll have to actually try and pry it and it'll be a whole chore to try and get this thing to move out. So that leaves us with a couple of options. We can try and grind out this piece, or we can just take some material off of the circle here. And that's what we're going to do, because this is metal, this is plastic. This is going to be a lot easier. Now, I'm going to use a rotary tool because I have one. If you don't have one, you can use a knife or even some sandpaper. It's just a lot more work. I'm just going to show you with the knife first, and then I'll do the second one with the rotary tool. So all we need to do is we need to try and shrink down the outer diameter of this little round piece here, because that fits right inside of here. So I'm just going to take my knife and slowly work my way around, just removing material as I go. Like I said, this is going to be pretty time consuming doing it this way. If you have a rotary tool, I highly recommend using it. It'll be much easier, save you a lot of time, and there's far less risk of this blade going through your finger, which I know is going to happen before I'm done this. Now we're going to do this one with the rotary tool. Now that we've shrunken down the outer diameter of the mounts, the original key should fit. And you can see it slides right over top. It doesn't rattle or shake, but it will pivot, and it works perfectly on both sides. So So as you can see, the rotary tool definitely makes it a little bit easier. It's a little bit neater, but you can do it with a knife on both sides. You just got to be careful. Now all we got to do is reassemble and we're good to go. Right, with the old key dismantled, our new key modified, this is what we should be left off with. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the circuit board from the old key housing and we're going to place it into the new one. This is a good chance to replace that battery if the battery has gone bad, but this one here I know is good. Next, we'll take the spring, and then notice the spring has a tab sticking out of one side and inwards on the other. We're going to take the tab that's facing out and place it down facing the outside of the key. Next, we'll take the release button and the key blade. Remember, we're using the old key blade here, not the new one. Place it inside, making sure that all of the tabs line up to the slots in the key blade itself. And then we're going to place it over top of that spring. Rotate it around a little bit, you should feel it and hear it click into place. Once it's in place, simply hold everything down and rotate the key around anti-clockwise, one rotation. Hold it in place, and now we can install the key ring holder. This part can be a little bit awkward because you need to hold both the key ring holder and the key blade in place, and then install the front cover. Then just test the key. All right, now, if you find that when you push the button, the blade isn't popping out fast enough, there's one of two things that's going on. One, you haven't taken enough material off the inside and it's still binding, or two, you don't have enough tension on the key. Now you will notice that these aftermarket key housings have multiple positions that you can put the spring. So simply take it apart again, rotate the spring 1 or 2 notches over, and then repeat the process. Just remember, if you put too much tension on the spring, when you try and close it, it'll just do this. So figure out which one it is, if you've got binding or it's the spring tension, and then deal with that issue. Once you got it working properly, your job is done. So if you like today's video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps motivate me to keep on making these videos. And otherwise, get out in the garage and do something. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.